It is a mechanism whereby it's a third-party signal. Anybody can start a website. Anybody can say anything about anything. So I could start a website tomorrow and say I offer dental consultancy. I have no knowledge of dentistry or anything to do with being a dentist. Right? I could start a website tomorrow called Chris's Dental Consultancy. I'm the world leading dental consultant. You should hire me. Spend lots of money with me, and I'll tell you everything you need to know about being a good dentist. Right? Complete nonsense. Okay.
AI isn't just changing dentistry, it's completely redefining it. Tune into Bite-Size Podcast, the dental AI and tech podcast, and stay ahead of the curve.
Welcome back to another episode of the Bite-Size Podcast. Most dentists are spending money to rank higher in Google when the fastest path to being recommended by Google and by AI is getting other people to vouch for you online. Chris Panteli runs one of the world's top digital PR agencies, specializing in what the industry calls earned media. It's what that means is getting qualified experts quoted in tier one publications like Forbes, Healthline, The Guardian, People Magazine, without buying the links. His clients have landed placements that most SEO agencies can't even touch, not because they have bigger budgets, but because they've built the right authority signals in the right places. And Chris is here today to break down exactly how that works for dentists, from setting up your digital footprint to getting your name in publications that shape how Google and AI systems decide who to recommend. So, Chris, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much, Adrian. A great introduction.
Yeah, I try and make those slick, Was I good?
Spot on.
Did it represent your spot on? All right, cool. Well, that's probably because you reviewed it and told me I could say it. So
don't reveal but what's behind the magician's curtain.
Anyway, it's nice to have you here, buddy. Tell us a little bit about your company really quick and how you got into digital PR.
Yeah, so mine's not a particularly traditional trajectory. I graduated from university with a degree in economics and then went into the family business of fish and chips. For over a decade, I was running my own fish and chip shop. Started getting a bit disillusioned with the industry, rising costs, tighter profit margins. So I started a personal finance website with the view to make my millions online. Got to $1,000 a month pretty quickly, and then realized that one of the big things I needed to get was backlinks. I learned that not all backlinks.
How long ago is this?
About 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Keep going.
Realized that not all links were created equally, and that the best links were ones that were earned rather than bought. That's how I then got into answering these journalist requests as an expert. I found out I was pretty good at it. At the same time, I hired somebody to do a different sort of link building for me. That person is now my business partner. He had seen my website's link profile and said, "How did you get featured on like these websites, Forbes, people.com?" I said, "Oh, I'm just, answering these journalist requests." He said, "Oh, do you think you could do that for some of my clients?" I said, "I don't see why not." And then Linkify was just organically born from there.
That's cool. Linkify, Linkifi.
That's it. Yeah.
Is it .com?
.io
or .io? Yeah, Linkify.io. No, bummer. All right. Well, let's just jump into the problem, okay? Which is, in the dental industry, in order to build awareness, dentists primarily will write blog articles, or they'll hire a marketing company like us to do blog articles, run ads, maybe post on social media or in like Reddit or things like that, in order to help them build authority, right? Why is that not enough anymore, according to your expertise?
Well, we know that a large part of the internet, which Google controls, is built on this idea of backlinks. That is the sort of thing that underpins that original algorithm, whereby if they wanted to surface businesses on their first page, how could they decide who they trust? If someone's making a very serious search inside of Google, things about health or cancer, and how can I do this? Where should I go to do that? How are they going to be able to trust the 10 blue links that they put on their first page? And the idea was backlinks if they have other more authoritative sites linking to your website, then that is a trust signal. And the more trust signals you have, the more confident Google can be to put you on page one. This has then obviously developed and evolved over time. We're now living in a very different world where things like LLMs are also a huge part of the customer search journey.
Right.
A lot of the LLMs are built on top of that sort of Google or indexable search engine. So ChatGPT runs on top of Bing, and obviously the AI overviews are Google's property. But how are those LLMs like delineating trust signals is as well? And we know for a fact that being mentioned, so not just a link, but being mentioned and talked about in trusted sources is a huge factor in that ability to be surfaced. So if you can build authority to yourself, your business, your brand, all of these entities that are interconnected, then you're going to have more chance of appearing and being surfaced everywhere that people could find you.
Okay, so let me ask a few clarifying questions for the audience to make sure that they understand what you're saying. So LLM, first of all, just the acronym LLM stands for large language model.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just give us a quick download on what LLM is and what it is? Like, where are we interacting with an LLM?
Okay, yeah. So there's LLM, large language model. If you've used or heard of ChatGPT, this was like the first mainstream release of such a technology. It's now sort of spread like wildfire, and we have access to these large language models through tools like Perplexity, Claude, and then Google itself has Gemini. And these are AI technologies that will allow you to interact with them conversationally, like a chatbot. And they function very, very differently to Google. In fact, I had a conversation with someone recently who made the point that there'll be a generation that doesn't know what it was like to be a good Googler. You know, when you needed to find some information and you had to like figure out how to get what you needed out of Google. Whereas now you can just say like, oh, I'm looking to go on holiday to this place and I want to eat vegan food, but I get a stomachache if the temperature's above 80. And it'll just give you this answer to like this simply whereas we had to actually know how to like what keywords to put into
try
Google
and derive it. Yeah.
So it's a very different landscape, and we need to be I think it's a safe bet. Obviously it's new. We know that brands do well in Google, and I think it's a safe bet that brands and authoritative brands and entities will do well across LLMs, large language models, and traditional search.
Okay, great. That's a great description of it. Let's also like a little context around your experience of, you mentioned buying links and earning links. Can you just describe, I think that when we talk about buying links, I don't think people understand. Well, actually, let's back up even further. You mentioned that getting links helps to establish authority. Okay. Getting a backlink, which means a link from a website somewhere linking to your website. Mm-hmm. Can you help me understand why that creates authority? Why isn't it that just Google looks at your website and establishes authority from your website and what you do, what you say you do? You see what I'm saying? Like, why linking? Why does linking provide some substantial authority signals?
Because it is a mechanism whereby it's a third-party signal. Anybody can start a website. Anybody can say anything about anything. So I could start a website tomorrow and say, I offer dental consultancy. You know, I have no knowledge of dentistry or anything to do with being a dentist, right? I could start a website tomorrow called Chris's Dental Consultancy. I'm the world leading dental consultant. You should hire me, spend lots of money with me, and I'll tell you everything you need to know about being a good dentist, right? Complete nonsense, okay? However, if I was genuine, right, and I released this website and I got a link from one of the world's leading excuse my ignorance, like, what is that, like a huge leading dental body?
Well, yeah, you could get a link from, say, Spear, another consulting company, or a big organization like the California Dental Association or the ADA. maybe they write something about you. That would be a really valuable source, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, essentially what I'm doing there is I'm borrowing the authority from those pre-existing trusted sources. So I've now gone from being potentially just a self-proclaimed dental consultant where I'm just listing all of my credentials and experience. Now there needs to be some sort of algorithmic way of recognizing and trusting that information. So if I did an interview with the California Dental Association, who obviously knew me in person and trusted my I am who I say I am, and they write an article about me, and then they link back to me, that link back is an algorithmic, recognizable piece of information that Google's algorithm and systems can see, interpret, understand, and measure. And that's the key. And the more of those that we have, if I have links from every dental association in the country, let's say I start doing webinars, presentations, I do talks at big dental conferences. The conference includes, my bio and links to me. Over time, you can see now how not easily, but how I've gone from being something that anybody can say and do to something which is now algorithmically measurable as to how trusted I can be.
Okay, great. That was awesome. Now, one other thing that you said is you were talking about buying links and earning links. Can you just describe the whole buying link process and some of the advantages and disadvantages of buying a link?
Yeah, sure. And that's a great way to phrase it, because you'll have sort of many camps within the link space. And I actually think digital PR is upstream of just links. And we'll get to that as the conversation progresses, because it provides so much more value than just the intrinsic SEO or Google algorithmic value of the link. But you'll have camps in the SEO community. You'll have white hat who believe that everything that Google says or releases in its public documentation is gospel. Google says do not write or produce content in any way where you are aiming to manipulate the algorithm, right? I mean, producing content in of itself is a manipulation of the algorithm. So, but you'll have people that will just completely and inherently trust Google. Google says do not do anything to influence or, algorithm. You should just be yourself, write truthful content, and earn links naturally. If you produce really good content, then people will naturally link to you. So that's sort of the white hat side. Then you'll have the black hat, which is the other side, who will just do everything they can in any way possible to game the system. And we know that links work, and therefore you can take that to the extreme. You can build things called like private block networks. You can do like link exchanges. You can buy tier 2 links. So that's where you send links to the places that you've got links from, and it powers up the link from. So there's so many different things that you can do. Now that marketplaces obviously now exist where you can buy links from other people's websites, maybe much lower tier or still good quality, but they want to sell links for extra income. And this is a known industry. And I wouldn't go as far to say that there's anything necessarily inherently wrong or evil or bad with it, because there isn't. We know links work. And you can, in certain industries, you'll need to buy links because all of your competition is buying links. So if you're in casino, let's say, or affiliate spaces, or really, really SEO aggressive spaces, then you need to buy links because your competitors are. Now there is a space, especially for things like inner pages. So if you've got, let's say, a page on your dental website, which is very specific to the area and it's high converting, it's a really important page to you. Like, you want people to land on that page because they've searched for crown replacements in like a very specific town in California, let's say, and you've got that page on your website, your dental clinic / that area / crown replacements. That's like a really high intent, great page. You want to rank for that. And we want to maybe try and earn some links directly to that page, which is not a very natural thing to happen. So if you buy a couple of links, that could boost it from spot 8 or page 2 of the results up to page 1. If you want to build real authority for your business and your brand, you want to get links and coverage that can't be bought, because Google knows all of the places that you can buy links from. So if you can get in places that don't sell links because you've earned it, because you've contributed like expert commentary, or you've provided value to the journalist, then that can have 100x impact compared to the links that you can buy.
So basically, I mean, this is a massive industry. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that are spent for companies to buy links from here or there. I do know that there have been multiple times as I've been in marketing where Google has kind of identified places called link farms where, it's a company that's just built thousands and thousands of pages around whatever. And then they basically, or they build websites, thousands of websites, and they call it, the plumber's circle, whatever, for plumbing. And then they sell links from that site to plumbers, right? And Google's figured this out, and they've just gone in and they've just basically removed those websites from the internet, or they've cut them out somehow. And so, and this happens several times in the last 15 years, many times, where all of a sudden you'll see a company, in the dental industry, you'll see a dental practice that's ranking really, really high, and they have gone out and done this. They've bought lots of links, but the links are from these kind of link farm types of places. And all of a sudden they just disappear from the search engine rankings because they remove all the link value that they've purchased. That happens. So that's the downside of buying links. For me, I'll give you an example. Like, I write for Dental Economics, which is a big publication, and Dentistry IQ, and maybe 15, 20 other publications in the dental industry. And some of those publications require me to send them a few bucks in order to publish. And some of them just take my content because it's good content, right? So in a way, it's kind of like, for the ones that I pay to have content published, it is kind of like buying a link, but the publications are not link farms. These are well-established organizations in the dental industry with decades of authority, and, they've got great authority on their website. So I've always found that to be a safe play, where I'm maybe paying for a publication, but it's within the industry that I'm in, and it's with an established authoritative company. But just buying like thousands of links from random stuff, I've stayed way away from.
Yeah, that's and Google has changed its approach to this over the years. So it had big updates like Penguin and Panda, where it decimated websites that had bought links for years. It had then identified these as farms, like you say, and just completely like wiped businesses off the face of the planet in the space of like, they went to bed.
Overnight.
And then overnight. And that is an inherent risk. Now Google will just, rather than sort of set a manual action on your website or like totally remove you from its index, it will just, any of these links, it will just ignore. So
it just ignores them.
You may as well not have bought them or built them. And then there are so many exceptions to the rules as well of buying links. Like, what you don't want to do is buy a link that is in a bad neighborhood because it exists in order to be sold as a link. Maybe they're selling links to casinos, porn sites. Like, if the site, there's like a couple of easy ways to tell, right? If the site is trusted by Google, so it has organic traffic and it's not on like a massively downward trajectory, then it's in good standing with Google. If it's not, you search all of the pages on that site. If it's not linking to casino and porn and it's like sticking to its industry, it's good. If it's asked you as a contributor to like, give an admin fee or just something that like makes sense, like you said, then that's fine. The safest bet is alongside that is to get some earned media coverage as well, because that's what real businesses do. If Paul launches a new product, it's like newsworthy, and hundreds of thousands of websites will link to it in the space of like 5 minutes. So does Google look at that and go, oh, that looks dodgy, someone's just bought 1,000 links? Or does it understand that that's like a massive newsworthy event and it's earned media? And that can keep you safe. and obviously build huge authority for you and your business and your brand.
So you said a little bit earlier, you were talking about just being mentioned versus getting a link. Okay. Now it used to not be this way. It used to not be, and I don't know, I guess it's changed in the last couple of years, but if the ADA, the American Dental Association, had an article and they mentioned my company, My Social Practice, but didn't create a link in the article, I don't know how much of the value of that, because the entire algorithm was based on measuring the value of the link, not the mention. I don't know. Can you comment on that? Did it used to?
Yeah,
Did
so
mentions?
the link is still hugely important for building your domain authority. But Google has evolved and become more sophisticated. It can now understand semantically, like information. If your name, Adrian, is mentioned on that website, within the context of, let's say, if they're saying that you are, a marketing leader within the dental space, Google will see that and understand that and interpret it. But also that will be like understood by places like ChatGPT and the large language models in two ways. One is potentially when in their training data. So LLMs exist and work in two ways. They have training data, which is like their non-internet connected training data. So if you said
Okay.
to them, like, what color is a tomato? It doesn't need to connect to the internet because it knows a tomato is red, or it should be red. Whereas if you said, what color were the tomatoes at this year's tomato festival? I heard that they weren't the color they were supposed to be. It won't have been trained on
It
that.
won't
It's
have. Yeah.
training. Yeah. So it needs to make what's called a grounded search, connect to the internet and find out. So if you've been featured your name on that very trustworthy and authoritative website, where we've got your name as one entity, your business as another entity, and then like what you do as well. And all those three things then will be seen and understood by LLMs. And then you can, and it doesn't need to be a link, because it just can see that and absorb it, and it knows the sites that it can trust. It also uses a combination of like the indexable search engines as well, like Google and Bing, and you can see this in real time. If you go into ChatGPT and say, let's say I say best dentists in Alabama, okay, you'll see all of the sources that ChatGPT has pulled from. It'll tell you, like,
Yeah.
it's pulled from like a dental organization, or maybe like a Reddit thread, or maybe a listicle that like a local chambers of commerce produce, let's say. And it doesn't, some will have links and some won't. But you can see the sources that it's pulled from, and oftentimes it's trusted media sources that it's pulling that information from, because it knows it can trust them.
Is this primarily the capability of search engines that are influenced by AI? I mean, Gemini, Google is kind of in this limbo where they're kind of transitioning into kind of a full AI, experience. Gemini, the AI overviews show up at the top of the page. You can go to AI mode. You can just kind of interact directly with Gemini. But they still have links on the page. I think they're transitioning slowly into having a full AI mode where you won't even see the links anymore. It'll just be AI you're talking to. It'll be like ChatGPT. But so Gemini and ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity and Grok and all of these LLMs, it is the reason why they have the ability to value a mention. So it's mentioning, a name, a business, and what they do without a link in it, because the LLMs understand human language. And prior to this, Google's search algorithm didn't have that capability. So it doesn't understand context and sentiment. Is that what primarily why mentions are now valuable without a link?
Yeah, I would say 100% on the latter part of that, which is historically Google did not have that ability. I think it would be like remiss of me to say now, we fully understand how LLMs are deciding what sources to prioritize, because this is so new and we don't have access to any proprietary data.
Right.
When Google, like the sort of pulling back the magician's curtain was when you were able to bid on Google, AdWords. So that would be when you could then, Google obviously has had this data, and all of the LLMs have this data as well, but like we've never been able to see it. We don't know what people are searching for, how often they're searching for it, how they're like interacting with it. We only know what we can see they're showing us. So it's just circumstantial evidence for now. Like if you go into ChatGPT, if I go into ChatGPT now and I say, look, I'm looking for a lawyer, I'm in Birmingham, the UK, I'm looking for, actually, let's not use that. Let's use a more, an industry that's more hijacked. Okay. Okay. I'm looking for the best credit card. Okay. So we know that there's people that will make a lot of money, on credit card affiliate links. Okay.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
the affiliate industry, they will say anything to get the click and to earn the commission. They don't care. Okay. If they can rank a website where they say this is the best credit card, it's the credit card which pays the highest commission. If someone clicks on it, signs up, they earn a small affiliate commission. So that is ripe to be abused. But if I go into ChatGPT now and I say, what are the best credit cards for me to have an interest-free amount of £3,000, let's say, it isn't, the sources that it's pulling from isn't weird, dodgy looking spam sites that have just written anything in order to get you to click on the links. It's very, very authoritative, trusted sources. You will have heard of the websites, you trust them. So it has to be a combination of whatever sort of search engine it's built on, which could be Bing if it's ChatGPT, or, if it's Google, if it's Gemini. But then on top of that, it has that superpower of a large language model where it is able to really understand what the user has asked for and interpret the results in a way where it can give a really good answer. And these answers will vary me to you, me to me on the same session, on a different browser, on a different time of day. And also, if you're using the LLMs, it has like a memory and it's learning about you, and it will give you different answers the more and more it knows about you.
Yeah. All right. I want to land a point just to make sure that I'm not confused on this. So your organization, and we'll get into a little bit about how you do what you guys do, but your organization is not a link building organization primarily. I mean, you probably do get links for clients and stuff, but your organization is primarily to get mentions in high value publications. Is that fair to say?
It's half right. We have two services. We have SEO digital PR, which is all about the link. So our deliverable is the link. And then we have authority PR, where the deliverable is the strength and quality of the coverage, where the link isn't necessarily the deliverable. It might be a TV appearance, podcasting. So it depends on what you want to achieve, and what route you want to take.
Okay, so that's authority PR, and what was the other service?
SEO digital PR.
Okay, SEO digital PR. So authority PR and SEO PR, we'll say. Okay.
Yeah, but
so
both have an aim to build authority. But with SEO digital PR, if it's a pure SEO play for Google, then the link has to be the deliverable. We will earn for you the most authoritative and trusted links, but the link has to be the deliverable for it to be a pure SEO play. If you want to really build brand so that you're having like demonstrable visibility inside of Google, LLMs, just within your network, then it doesn't have to necessarily be a link, as we've discussed with all of the other authority building.
All right. So between these two services, if I were to come to you and I say, look, I'm building my brand. Okay. So let's say I'm a dentist. So I'm not necessarily just trying to get my website to rank higher in my community, but maybe I'm trying to build a brand where I am an authority and I'm an educator in the dental industry. And I'm trying to build my brand around me, my personality. And that will absolutely kind of trickle down in value to the website because I'm on the website and stuff like that. But let's say I'm trying to build me as a brand. Okay. Which service more is the better service to work with between SEO, PR, and authoritative PR?
Authority PR, yeah. You've just completely described that. That's that service, authority PR, building brand, and yeah, you'll 100% get that trickle down to the website, but you are like holistically focused on a wider goal, which is building exactly what you just said.
Okay, so let's say that I have one of two options. I can, and so I guess where I'm confused is this: is like if I come to you and I say, look, I want to build my brand, but I also want the SEO benefit, but I only want to do one thing. Okay. And you say to me, hey, I can get a mention of you in People magazine, your name, your business, whatever, no link, just who you are and what you do. Okay. Or I can get a link to your brand page. Maybe my brand page is the About Me page on my dental website. Okay. Let's just say they're not separate assets. It's my website is my website for my practice, and the About Me page is my brand page. Okay. Let's distinguish it like that. And I say, look, or you can get me a link from the American Dental Association writing an article, and it links to my About Me page on my website.
Mm-hmm.
What in the long run is more beneficial for SEO? Because what I'm thinking is if I have a mention in People magazine, there's an SEO benefit to that regardless. Is there not? I'm just confused.
There is, yeah, absolutely. The way I would think of it is if you are a dental practice owner and let's say you drive business from Google organic search, you're tracking it, you do X amount per month from Google organic search. If that starts to drop, let's say, and you need to re-stimulate that because that's your main goal, and you have no interest whatsoever in being known as the go-to name within your industry, within your local industry, you have no wish whatsoever to be like an authority in the space, to be a public figure. You just want to get that organic search traffic back, and you're going to want to build links. And we sell a certain type of link, which is earned media links. It's almost always exclusively the homepage because the journalist will quote you in the article. They will link back by way of attribution to your website as a homepage branded anchor text link. And that will lift hopefully your keywords that have dropped, hopefully will lift back up. There are all of these additional benefits of this sort of link building, which trickle into things like AI visibility. It's a link, but it's also a branded mention, which obviously is good for AI visibility. It's good for your authority as well, because yes, we've built you one of the best links in the world, but you're being quoted and featured on a really big website. You can put that on your homepage as featured in. So you get all of these benefits. But you are only interested in the links because the only sort of ROI that you want to see is more organic search traffic from Google. And that's that. If you understand the importance of going above and beyond that, building a brand, being the go-to name in your industry, in your space, being invited to things, knowing how that can compound and what effect it can have, then you'll want to do things. You don't just want to think about one player, Google. You need to think about the much bigger picture and really build brand. So I think that's the way I would explain it.
One of the things that we've done and harped on and talked about and created training programs around is helping dentists. It's kind of like a dual kind of thing. It's like, it's not a macro branding strategy. It's a micro branding strategy and SEO strategy. So it's like you have a dentist. They don't want to be nationally recognized as a speaker or an educator, but they have to be recognized in their community as the go-to dentist. So there's a level of authority that's a micro authority, not a macro authority. And so some of those strategies are almost identical to what you're doing on a macro strategy scale, which is run a campaign and do a free whitening day, whiten people for free and donate the money to a local charity. Now do that, but then call every news outlet in your town and have them cover the story. Right. I mean, that's like a micro branding / SEO strategy, right? So it's like what you're doing kind of on a micro scale. Does that fit?
Yeah.
Does that square with what you're doing?
Yeah. And that's great. That's a great way to think of it. And every strategy will be different as well. Like you'll have like a local and a national play, depending on the business. There'll be much wider national plays. Like, if they want to, let's say it's National Brush Your Teeth Day, let's say, and we could get that dentist featured in the national news. But local stuff is great as well, and hyper local news where you might have a national event which affects the local area.
Got it.
If you can provide expertise against that, like local news is a great place, and we do both obviously for clients, and it just depends where the opportunities are. But if you have a dentist that's operating in I don't know, Alabama, and Alabama has just decided to add more fluoride to the local water or something like that, I don't know if any of that makes sense, but let's say it does.
Right, yeah.
That's like a teeth issue thing, isn't it? Like you're gonna want local news is gonna want to get some commentary from somebody who knows what they're talking about, which could be a local dentist, and that is you can just see the benefits straight away from that. If they link to you, you get the SEO benefit. You're being in the local press, you're going to be seen as the go-to person if that happens multiple times. Like, oh, who's the best known dentist in our area? And that's like a micro. You can do it on a macro, but the more you do it, the more you build, the more it compounds, and the benefits are just exponential.
Okay, that's super helpful. So I'm going to put a nail in the coffin on this idea then. So as I'm thinking about the players in the dental industry that want to create a brand that is nationally or internationally recognized, these would be organizations that like consulting organizations, that have been around for decades. They would be probably obviously speakers, educators, single dentist educators that go around and speak and train and educate. They would also probably be organizations, dental service organizations, which are large, multi-practice, usually private equity backed organizations where they might have 100 to 1,000 locations across the country, right? And so at that scale where you're trying to like blanket the United States, or that the idea is to create awareness across the entire country, then People Magazine and Healthline and all of these other like nationally recognized publications are where you want to be mentioned. If you're not that, if you're a single dental practice and you want to be known in your community, it doesn't make sense to go be put in People Magazine because the cost is probably beyond what you'd want to spend. I don't know. Maybe it's not that expensive, but you're just looking to answer questions to your community. And so you'd want to have like a micro branding kind of strategy, which is kind of what I mentioned. Is that fair?
I think that's one of the things which is often misunderstood, is that you can definitely do both, and you can achieve a national voice. And I can talk you through that, or there's places that connect experts to national media where you can just provide commentary and expertise and get quoted in these huge publications. And in PR friendly niches and like health, anything health related is definitely one of those. You're going to want to get that local exposure as well. But if you're a dentist and you follow a strategy, which I can talk you through, you will have the opportunity to be quoted in huge national media publications because they are also looking for expertise. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to be like world's most famous dentist. You can just be someone who's got good credentials, credibility, and you can achieve that. So I think a combination is
so
within
you can
reach.
do both.
You can do both. Yeah.
It's within reach. Is probably not that. I mentioned the cost. You've gone over cost with me. I don't think it's that expensive actually. So what you're saying is that if you're a local dentist and you're wanting awareness in your local community, there's no reason why you couldn't be mentioned by People Magazine or whoever that would support your local initiatives. It's just a really, really strong mention. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, cool. All right. I freaking beat that horse to death. So here's what I want to talk about now. I want to talk about the actual process. Like,
okay,
how, like, I come to you and I say, Chris, I want to be recognized as a dental marketing expert in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not mentioned anywhere in these major publications. Now pretend that there's actually an opportunity for that. Just walk the audience through, like, how you do it, like what's happening, like where's the exchange happening, who's talking to who.
Yeah.
Can you go through that?
I can. You've given me the worst example though. Like marketing is.
My gosh. That's why I said ignore that. Okay. I'm a dentist. Let's change the example. I'm a dentist. I am a cosmetic dentist, and I am wanting to speak around the country, or I am speaking around the country about cosmetic dental services and trending ideas and new technology and whatever it might be. Okay.
Okay.
That's who I
so
am.
There are a number of, first of all, aggregator platforms that will pull in journalist requests. So these are inbound requests. You can look at digital PR at two sides. One is outbound. So this is where you come up with a story. Maybe it's a data-led campaign or a newsjacking campaign. Let's say we see some famous British actor we're known to have terrible teeth. Let's say he's just been seen on the red carpet with a new set of gnashers, and it's all over the front page of the newspaper. Everyone's talking about it. Oh my God, Hugh Grant's got, like, he looks like he's had his teeth done. You know, they look great, blah, blah, blah. That's like mainstream news. So we could come up with a story as a dentist and say, 5 ways to spot if someone's had their teeth done. It's clickbaity. You've seen these sorts of things. The journalists will open those emails because it's like on point with what's currently in the news. It's a very spammy space. It's a lot of work for very little return. The other side of that is we look for warm leads where journalists are putting out a wide net and a casting call where they're looking for an expert. So they will post on their social media, or they will post on places that get picked up by these aggregator platforms. The most famous being HARO, which stands for Help a Reporter Out. That's completely free. Then you have Source of Sources, Quoted, spelt with a Q, Press Plugs, Response Source, Press Flow, Editorial, Journo Finder. There's a bunch of these tools that will look for these requests. And this will be as simple as a journalist from a publication. So Joe Blogs from Healthline has been commissioned to write a story about something to do with teeth, or maybe even more broadly health, where you as a dentist can legitimately provide answers to that question. Maybe it's something really on point, like the journalist is writing a story about whether or not, how dangerous it is to still be using a manual toothbrush as opposed to an electric toothbrush. They're writing a story for Healthline. They're looking for some dentists to give them some commentary. That is perfect for you to answer. Might be a bit broader. Okay. It could be a bit more of a tongue-in-cheek piece. Let's say the New York Post is writing an article on what concerns should parents have during the Christmas period in terms of like health problems. You could say, well, they're going to be eating a lot of sugary snacks, and as a dentist, that's a cause for concern. Really stay on top of them when they're brushing their teeth. So you can see the sorts of angles that you could take. You can see why the journalists would like to leverage your commentary, because they are leveraging your expertise. They are bolstering the credibility of their article. But yeah, exactly. It's a validation for the point that they're making. You can also follow journalists that you may recognize on a national level that write about like dentistry or health related topics from big platforms. Follow them on like X, let's say, and just set your alerts. They'll often use the hashtag journo request. And you can just keep an eye for the call outs. Write a good pitch, handwritten, and you'll have a good chance that they'll include your commentary, and hopefully they'll link back to your website. So they'll say, Adrian Leffler, from bestdentistry.com said that X, blah, 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 and they'll include it. And and that's
so
it.
they're not paying for these. They're just looking for somebody to give them a validated, authoritative quote to support their article.
Yeah. And if you start looking, and if you start looking through any sort of news story or, proper journalistically produced piece of content on the internet, you will see these throughout. Artemis goes up into space and, everyone's hoping it makes a safe return. Are there anything that causes to be concerned? Ex-NASA employee such and such has said that, blah, 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 blah. And these people have, they've pitched their commentary in order to help bolster the credibility of the article for the journalist.
So you're telling me these journalists are just like slapping together stuff, man? I've always thought that every time they quoted, they'd had like some long conversation with the the SpaceX employee who left, and they'd have a good relationship. No, they're just going and finding somebody to support their article.
It would be, I'm sure it will be.
Is that what
For a lot, I'm sure it will be. There is a huge mix. I know journalists will leverage their existing networks. Some stories will require much more of an. You can see why, like a journalist that's writing a piece, they're on a tight deadline. They're writing a piece about teeth. They need a dentist. You can see that's pretty.
Give me something. Hurry.
Give me something. Yeah. If they're writing a piece on the Iran war and they need a war expert that's like been that's a lot more, they need to really, so you can see where the opportunities are. And they'll do their due diligence though. They'll come back to you with follow-ups. They'll want to validate and make sure that you are who you say you are. A lot of the times they're just looking for, even just to support the argument that they're making, or just to add some color or add a different perspective to what it is that they're writing about.
So this industry of like journalists looking for validated quotes to support their articles, this is like a massive industry, I would imagine. I mean, you just mentioned like 8 or 9 or 10 different outlets. I mean, if you're trying to get mentioned, it's got to be a freaking full-time job watching all the requests come in, because I'm sure they get filled pretty quick. And like, yeah, I mean, is that why you've got a company?
Yeah.
To basically source all of this stuff to find the right, like, is that how you started your company?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. I mean, they are the best opportunities out there. It's extremely competitive. Obviously AI has hugely impacted the relationship on both sides. So journalists wanting to trust more what they're receiving, and people trying to write stuff that that they haven't necessarily written or checked. So, but I think the reason why it's a real industry is because you can obviously you'll see it now every time you read a news article. You'll see that the need is there for these stories to be, because a journalist isn't an expert in necessarily what they're writing. They're not going to be a dentist. The journalist that's writing the article on something to do with dentistry, they're journalists. Right. So how do they enhance that? And it's through these expert commentary, having these people inside. You'll see it on a TV news bit about a certain thing. They'll jump to the expert to give some extra flavor around it. But it has changed significantly. The value is that it is very competitive. Also as well, it's like dentistry is very, very, or anything dental is very specific. So there is a skill to being able to see the opportunities beyond just dental, like I suggested with the health concerns around Christmas. If there's a way to get it in, but then that's also a balance to not annoy the journalists. Journalists want to be given hyper relevant stuff. So if they're looking for, say, a certain expert and doctors and you pitch as a dentist, sometimes it might be good, but sometimes it might not. So there's nuances. You can build relationships with journalists in order to make this easier. Like you said, you thought they just go to people that they know. Oftentimes they'll go to agencies that they know that represent or have represented clients for a long period of time.
That's you. So you've built relationships with a lot of journalists. You're also probably scouring the web looking for requests.
Mm-hmm.
So your job is basically going, oh, here comes a request. It's a health article and they need this. Is there some way that I could take my client who's a dentist and create a quote that would fit and get them mentioned? So you're kind of tailoring this and trying to fit it, right? Is that fair?
Yeah. For the requests that come in, that's exactly it. And that's the skill.
Okay.
I mean, it's easy if it's like looking for a dentist and you're a dentist. Is a bit more nuanced and skilled if it's like, oh, we could get our dentist to comment here. It's like a really good publication. The journalist is great, and it would make sense for us to pitch. Maybe we would stand out. And then the other thing is leveraging those relationships. So not working with journalists that come back to you and say, hey, look, you gave me some commentary last month from one of your dentists. I'm doing a new article. Have you got any doctors? Have you got any lawyers? Yes, we have. Give them value, give them something that they can really use in a timely way, and they'll come back to you again, because it's easier for them to, rather than put out a request and have hundreds of things to come in and have to sift through. It's much easier for them to just go, hey, I've worked with you before. I know who you are. What can you give me? Yeah.
So how do you qualify? I mean, imagine that a lot of the requests that come through, I mean, they're not all People Magazine. They're not all like high-end stuff. I mean, you've got probably journalists at these little tiny dinky publications, or maybe, not even really valuable to get mentioned. So how do you actually qualify where you would get placement? What do you do?
Great. That's a great question. Yeah. Well, we maintain like internally a living, breathing blacklist.
Okay.
So we grade and have criteria against every website. We're from an SEO background, so going right back to the beginning of the show when we talked about, if a website is trusted by Google, if it has stable traffic and it writes on, it doesn't write off topic. So there's lots of different things that we look at. The easiest and most simplest thing to do if you're going to do this yourself is, have you heard of the publication? That's like the easiest thing to do. Like, oh, it's Forbes. I've heard of Forbes. Okay, that's cool. You can pitch that. Everyone's heard of Forbes. Have you heard of New York Post? Right. Yeah. Have you heard of New York Times? Yeah. Obviously, anything industry specific, you should or would have heard of as well. So you don't necessarily need metrics. So we'll use like third-party metrics. I'm sure you've heard of tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs, where it will give you like a metric on
a domain authority or domain rating. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
shows you how valuable their website is.
Yeah. Out of 100, like BBC is let's say 100, and then Chris Panteli's blog about grey t-shirts is 0. No one cares. But you can't just blanketly say, well, we're only going to pitch these websites that have got these metrics, because there may be a state-based dental charity that is hugely well respected, and it's like it doesn't get a lot of traffic because it's very, very niche specific, but it's a great place if they're writing an article and they're looking for experts. Like, you want to pitch that. That's like a great website to be quoted on. So there's some nuances. Easiest thing to do is have you heard of it? And then the next thing to do is just look at the person that's sourcing for the commentary. Google search their name. Are they a legitimate journalist? Have they got like a muckrack profile? Have they written for other publications? Have they got like a freelance writers website where they show you their work and their portfolio? As opposed to, is it like being dressed up as this thing and you're going to pitch them, and then they'll send you an email the next day saying, hey, I loved your pitch, but you need to give me $300 to put your quote in. And then if I give you the quote, you need to link back to my website. That happens. You want to not pitch those.
Okay. I gotcha. So your both of your services, the SEO service and the kind of the authoritative PR service, SEO PR and authoritative PR, are the only two services that you offer. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I I would just say to the audience here, I have connected Chris with some of the speakers in the dental industry that are trying to position themselves as authoritative educators. And hopefully they'll take a look at your services, because what you're providing is it's a really difficult, it's a time intensive process if you've never done this before, to just kind of jump into it and try and find stuff. I mean, it's like I think what you're doing is really valuable. And I would encourage anybody that is looking to, like I mentioned earlier in the conversation where I said, if you're a like a large consulting company and you want to be known as like the consulting agency in the industry, I don't know if there's a lot of placement for that, but that might be an option. If you're a DSO, right? Somebody who is just like got hundreds of practices throughout the country or in the South or in the Northeast or whatever, this might be a really, really valuable way to build the strength of your entire organization as a brand, as well as supporting your SEO strategies. Or if you're a dentist who's looking to become an educator or whatnot, right? So I just think that I have a few other organizations I want you to talk to, because I think that I've run into other individuals that have kind of said they do this, but they end up, when you dig into it, they end up being kind of link farmy stuff. And they're not talking about the New York Post or People Magazine or these big publications. So, and I only brought you on the show because I recognize the kind of the honest, transparent approach that you've taken to this. So I just want to give you super big kudos for what you're doing. And I'm hoping to help you kind of like offer your services in the dental industry. So I just want to, is it any last words you want to say before we close?
No, I think that's a great interview. It's a fast moving sort of space. We all want to be visible in this new era of search, and I think building a brand, whichever way you whichever route or path that you take, I think is will be time and money well invested. I think it's a safe bet for the future. I do also have a cheat sheet, a free cheat sheet, which anyone can go and find out.
I'll put the link in the description.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, linkify.io/cheat-sheet. Help you get started on your own, get your first big 5 pieces of coverage.
Cool. That's awesome. Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, Adrian.
Yeah, you're welcome. See you, man.
Thanks for listening to Bite Size Podcast. Tune in to stay up to date with everything dental AI and tech